Hey folks, and welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. Today, voting. Why do you vote? What's the point? Well, if you don't vote, you can't complain is one of the main mantras, but that is just absolutely ridiculous. It is pathetic that one person is considered our representative over 350 million people that we're never going to meet. We're never going to know. We're never going to know that what our thoughts are about what we want. Yet we're told that this person is our representative who's deciding who to bomb, who's deciding if to raise taxes, who's deciding the life that is going to be controlled and manipulated to the rest of us that we're going to obey and be obedient to, and the only recourse we have is to write your congressman, let your voice be heard, contact your representatives. That's all you can do, and they couldn't give a rat's ass about you folks. They don't even know who you are. That's why they call us human resources and goyim and cattle and chattel and legalese. But they give us our First Amendment rights of expression now, where they put us in cages miles away from anywhere our representatives are speaking. So we never, ever have a chance. And the only time you know about these people is through the media. You're never going to meet them. And who owns the media? The CIA. They've been running it for over 40, 50 years. It's been chronicled. And if you think it's not a selection, think again. Here is the cover of Heavy Metal magazine, which I own a copy of, from 1990. And if you open up this comic book, you'll see there's a comics titled The Wall. And The Wall is all about Trump. It's about Trump putting up a wall. Well, how did they know back in 1990 that Trump was going to put up a wall? Because they planned it that way. And if you think the reason why you have a red and a blue state, well, red is the warrior, pull yourself by your own bootstraps. It's the Republicans, it's the warrior, Mars. Hey, it's tough love. Everybody's got a chance. Everybody could be a Bill Gates, yada, yada. And the blue is compassion, it's Venus, it's love. Everybody has a right to do this or that. And everybody should be taken care of in the world. And those are your own two choices of who's going to be your nanny, because we live in a nanny state. Well, here in Santa Rosa, they just had their selections, and the voter turnout was anemic. California, 13% in Los Angeles, less than 50% here, and it's even less than that in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County as well. And nobody's even challenging anybody. It's just a cakewalk because there's just so much apathy here because everybody knows it makes no difference. Yet we voted for a bridge toll hike. Yay, we're going to ridge the bridge tolls again. It's getting ridiculous because the voters voted. Yet the people are exiting California because they can't afford it. Do you really think they're going to vote for a bridge toll increase? Well, think again. It doesn't matter that you vote. It has no say in anything, yet they think you have some type of power that's going to change things. Look at the approval rating on Congress, the makers of laws in our alleged country, which is not a country, which we'll get into a little bit. It's absurd to think that people we have no trust in, we're putting our vote in. It's ridiculous. Whether we are politicians know it or not, nature is party to all deals and decisions. Nature is under attack. Most people don't even know the difference between a democracy and a republic. The democracy is not even mentioned in the Constitution, which is another document we're going to get into. But it's ridiculous to think that the mob can have rules over us. So if 51% say it's the law, does that mean the 49% have to be obedient and obey what they decide? Well, what is the reason you have to vote? The reason you have to vote because your subconscious mind, your limbic brain, your survival brain says you have to because you have no idea where your food comes from. We don't even know what's in it anymore. We have no idea where our water comes from. We have no idea where our energy comes from. So we have to vote because those are the ones that are providing those services for us that keep life sustenance. So if we don't vote, we're voting for our own demise. It's our limbic brain that takes over. Now let's get into wording. What is elections? It is electric. What is voting? It is volting. What are the polls? They are the polls that are charged. And what is a candidate? It means white, bright light. All right. So why is this all about electromagnetism? Well, it goes all the way back to Charles Augustin de Coulomb, who discovered electromagnetic energy. And this is why that the Coulomb is named after the joule or the electric unit that electricity is measured by? Electromagnetic energy is the ether, or the air in the sky, which inside the dome is present everywhere, which Tesla proved based on Charles Augustin de Coulomb's research and J.J. Thomson, who discovered the perpetuality of electromagnetism everywhere, and Tesla showed us how we could use it. So is this why Washington, D.C. is called the District of Columbia? And this is why we have charge cards? It's all based on electromagnetism. Now, when you go to register for voting, register. Regis means crown or regal or queen, and stir means to enroll or to participate in an activity. That's what means registering. You're joining a corporation. You're being a part of their fictitious character. That's what it means. From the time you are born, you're under contract. That is why the footprint goes on the paper when you're born, and the water breaks coming down the birth canal. It's all based on water, which gets into. But your Social Security, your driver's license, your bank statements, they're all in capital letters. Why is that, legalese? Because you're part of a fictitious strawman corporation. You do not exist on land. You only are out to sea. And this is part of the legalese they play with you as you register and that you participate. You are saying, I am a corporation. I am a corporation. I am a dead entity. I do not exist in human form. I am not a living being. I'm a fictitious character called a straw man. So please understand that. It's very critical to know, and look at your statements in capital letters. All right, so let's get into the federal government, which is Washington, D.C. Now, most people are completely unaware that Washington, D.C. is a city-state beholden to no other country. It is not beholden to the small, non-capitalized United States. Well, the first letter is capitalized, but the rest are not. In small case, United States of America. It is USA in capital letters. The federal government, where they make the laws, the Supreme Court and the President of the United States and the Congress, who oversees Washington, D.C. But no one can even tell us the date Washington, D.C. was founded. February 23rd, 1871, the Organic Act. No one can tell us what the District of Columbia stands for, so I'm proposing that it could stand for Augustin de Coulomb. Possibly it could. Why is Washington, D.C. called a city-state? Because they created a corporation. It only exists. The corporate document papers are in Puerto Rico, and they're owned by the City of London, who are the bankers. This is part of the trilateral. Now, the word president of the corporation or CEO is now Trump. P stands for principle, res stands for property or thing, and ident stands to identify. So the principle is identifying the property or thing as they run the corporation. The USA is a corporation, and as I said, the corporate papers are in Puerto Rico, which just has been destroyed, so they can take it over, and the corporate charter held in the City of London. Even in our codes, in our legal system, it says that the United States, capital letters, is a corporation. The Title 28, 3002. And then they enacted corporate personhood to give them rights, just like the 14th Amendment, which was really not about freeing the slaves. It was more about getting everybody on their citizenships, because we're all based on water. And so they created the corporate personhood, where Walmart and everybody else has legal standing, just like you and I, but they don't pay taxes. They can use their lawyers to defend themselves, and that's why corporations can run roughshod over this country, because they're treated just like a human being is. And they made it really sneaky the way they passed that law. So you think the presidents are different between a Republican and a Democrat? Think again, folks. They're all related by bloodlines. They all have negative bloodlines. That's how they're all connected, and they go all the way back to King Charles III and Vladimir the Impaler across the pond. Did you know they're all blood related? Well, they are, and it's been proven by the steerage and Piers and Steerage in England, their documentation as well. Okay? And so it's a game they play with us to think they're different and sell on the differences, but they only get in power because they're all part of the same bloodlines. They're all part of the same team. And then they want to confuse us. Ronald Reagan was an actor, all right? And then they confuse us his names. So our president was Osama Obama, Barack bin Laden, Saddam Hussein. I get them confused. Who's the good guys? Who's the bad guys? And then we got Trump. What is Trump? It's the final card played in bridge at the end of the game. But it's something much more sinister, and it's hidden directly in plain sight, and that's called fascism or fasces. And this is all about taking control and ruling by the corporations, the corporations that rule. And you don't think that this is really happening, folks? Again, think again. Take a look at the State of Union address that the president gives, and you'll see right next to him these fasces. And what are these fasces? These are what were used by the Roman soldiers back in the days of ancient Rome when the council, the Congress would make laws, and they would walk out with their bundling sticks of caning rods with an axeman's hench sticking out the top, and they would cane people if they didn't like the laws and protested, and if they protested too much, they would simply lop off their heads. That's how they did it. And now we see on the Lincoln Memorial, we see the fasces, we see them on the back of the dimes, we see them in the symbology of the seals of the U.S. government and others. We see it in the Knights of Columbus, which Jeb Bush is a member of as well. This is how they rule us, folks. The rulers rule us through force, enforcement. You don't pay your taxes, we're going to put you in jail. It's through enforcement. All right? And then it's all about the creepiness. It's the creepiness of holding these presidents in violation of moral laws, and it's been going on for a long time, as I just chronicled in the pedophilia site. And did you know that Andrew White, the first Roman Catholic archbishop in the United States, that's who the White House is named after? No, nobody knows this stuff. Now, were you aware that before it was named Washington, D.C., and the land donated by Jesuit John Carroll, the richest man in the United States at the time, it was called at one time Rome, Maryland? Or the Potomac River was called the Tiber? Or that there's 7 hills in Washington, D.C., including Capitoline Hill, just like in Rome? And as I said, the land was donated by John Carroll, who founded Georgetown University, the Jesuit school, 6 months before Washington, D.C. And if you go in most cities, you'll find, like including Sacramento, California here, the state capital, it was founded 6 months before by Freemasons. So Donald Trump, Jesuit school. Fordham, Bill Clinton, Jesuit school. Georgetown, our governor here in California, Moonbeam Jerry, Jesuit minister. And the next governor, Jesuit Gavin Newsom, went to Santa Clara University. Now, did you know that Abraham Lincoln was killed by a bunch of Roman Catholics, including the Surratt family, Mary and John Surratt? They were hung for it, folks. There was a trial, and they were hung for it. And they didn't allow diplomacy with the Vatican until Reagan brought it back in 1984, because they knew that the Roman Catholic Jesuits had killed Abraham Lincoln, and Congress and the rest of the people would not allow the Roman Catholic Church to be lobbyists, to have diplomatic relations with the United States until 1984. How many people are aware of that? I mean, this goes on, and now we have the first Jesuit Pope in 600 years, Pope Francis, who we could go into the Vatican basement and pull out his Michelangelo or Picasso paintings and sell 1 or 2 of them and end all world hunger, and while he's protecting all the pedophile priests. Give me a break. And check out this list, all the ones that belong to the Knights of Malta, the Red Cross. When they crossed the pond and we were going to fight to the death against the British, and we're going to hang together or hang separately, as George Washington or Benjamin Franklin said. And then we won, as the story goes. And they go to Betsy Ross, which is a fictitious story, and say, Betsy, make us a flag. And she goes, hey, Samuel, George, Thomas, what color flag do you want? Oh, they said, you know what? Those British got some really cool colors as well. Why don't we just use the same colors as them, which are the same colors as France, which is the same color as Chile and many, many other countries. It's all part of the same club. And here you can see a crown of thorns that was donated by Pope Pius IX to back Jefferson Davis in the Civil War. And then you can see here the hanging of the Surratt, Mary Surratt, and 3 others for the execution and the killing of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was taken out just like John F. Kennedy was taken out. And here you can see all of the similarities between the two. And Abraham Lincoln was no friend of the Jesuits. Here is one of his quotes. And after they took out Abraham Lincoln, The Pope Francis comes here to the United States, and who does he use just to mock everybody? He uses the lectern from Abraham Lincoln as well. Okay? It's all part of the same team, and they've been running the show, as I've been saying, for a long time, for 500 or more years. It's always the right hand of the sock puppet that we all talk about, whether it be a Trump or Obama. They give us a good guy Obama and then a bad guy Trump. They give us Nixon, then they give us Ford. They give us Bush, and then they give us Carter. Good cop, bad cop. They're just playing us. Well, what's Pence? Roman Catholic. What is creepy Joe Biden? Roman Catholic. What was George Washington, folks? George Washington on his tombstone first said Freemason, right? On his tombstone it says Freemason, and then it says President of the United States. Well, who's his allegiance to? Who are they celebrating, folks? They're celebrating the Freemasonry. And all the Freemasons, a lot of them have been presidents of the United States. And Washington in this pose is the same pose as the devil, as is Baphomet, the devil, Ahriman. And here we see satanic rituals where they give the Medal of Honors out, and it's upside down in symbolism of the devil, of Lucifer, of evil. This is how they roll. And they've effectively eliminated all protest. Where's the protest for the anti-war movement that we're bombing and killing more people than we ever have before? And Obama all is being usurped by Trump, who's going into more countries as well. It is absolutely insane. We spend more on war to kill people than anybody else in the history of mankind, yet not a peep is heard in this country about the 2 million killed in Iraq or all the torture that we do with our rendition sites and whatnot. There is silence in this country, and it is a silence that's going to come back to haunt us, I guarantee you. I mean, folks, let's go back a little bit and look at these presidents in history and look at their estates. I mean, this is the estate of John Adams. I mean, it's incredible how amazing. Look at Monticello. Thomas Jefferson is said to be broke, and he had borrowed so much money from the government that he had to donate his library that began the Library of Congress. Yeah, right. Believe that one. And then we got Montpelier with James Madison's mansion as well. How did they all get mansions? Because they were paid off to do their duty of what they were supposed to do. Andrew Jackson could have broken away from them because he tried to start a greenback and he got assassination attempt. But look at the Grouseland and William Harrison's house. These were all mansions. Not so much Abraham Lincoln, but Theodore Roosevelt. They all had grand mansions, the Kennedy compound, etc., that made all their money off of bootlegging and made up story about Prohibition. Prohibition was not about social drinking problems. It was about Henry Ford making a car that would run on switchgrass or hemp oil to go across the country. People could drive their Model A or Model T cars, and the other switch went to oil, which the Rockefeller family ran. Well, the Rockefellers did not want cars running on gasohol, on hemp oil or switchgrass, and so he made it that the prohibition was created to make oil the only alternative, and alcohol couldn't be used to run the cars. And then Joe Kennedy got the contract to run the bootlegging up through Canada to bring liquor into the country and made a fortune of it. And then we have the Ronald Reagan Ranch as well, who is an actor. He's an actor that was president of the United States. That's his qualifications because he read his lines very well. So these presidents are owned, they're bought, and they're rewarded very highly for what they do. Now here, let's get into contract law. When they created the 14th Amendment, it created a citizenship. Now this not only put us all out to sea, but it put everybody in the same barrel. And as the Federalist Papers will argue with you, that the Constitution was created to limit the power of federal government, not to the American people. Not the American people. What America are we talking about? Central America, South America, Canada? One thing you understand about contract law, that cannot be assigned to another individual unless compensation or agreement is done. There was no agreement by me that I make under the guise of the U.S. Constitution. It was we the people, the 39 rich land-owning white guys. It didn't include women. It didn't include Native Indians. Americans. It didn't include slaves. It didn't include non-landowners. It was just we, the people, that signed the contract or compact of the time. And getting back to flags, check out this flag, folks. It's the East India Tea Company. Does it look familiar? Did we really declare independence? Well, look at Alexander Hamilton, which everybody's jonesing on about this play going on. He was British nobility. They still ran the show. They just made it sound like they had given we the people, and they sold us a bill of goods that is worth nothing. Nothing. Predictive programming from the Hunger Games soundtrack by Jamie D. You say you know love, but you're just reflecting words you hear. No iron in your veins to give you any sense of pain or fear. It's just another lie. It's just another calculation. And when the power's out, we're just another old sensation. This blood keeps me alive, but what is it that runs through you? Electricity and wires, dictating everything you do. You tell me that you hear me and that all the memories are real, but how do I know you just don't feel what you've been told to feel? We run around the rules, we run around the rules, we run around the rules. Round and round, 2 by 2, we run around the rules. There's water in your eyes, and I know I'm the reason that it's there, but I still don't feel bad because I know that you've more to spare. And just behind your eyes are switches that can turn you back on to clear away today till all your memories are gone. So John Adams said we're a nation, a government of laws and not men. Well, the first thing is govern means to rule, and ment is short for mental, so it's a ruling of the mind is what you first need to understand. And the second thing is we are people, we are not laws. We're not, but we're considered sheeple. We're considered chattel. We're considered human resources. We're considered goyim. So by making laws, they take the humanity out of everything, and that's also part of their plan. Well, how many laws, rules, regulations are there, and statutes, infractions are there, and codes in the United States alone? Over 26 million. Yet ignorance of the law is no excuse, they say. But when in school did they ever teach you about law? Did they teach you about law in high school? No. Did they teach you about law in Congress? I got a little bit of business law because I was a business major, but it was about contract law. They don't teach you about your rights. They don't teach you how to fight in court, to defend yourself. It's all part of the same game to keep us numb and dumb, and then tell us that you have a vote, that you have a right to express yourself, and if you don't vote, you can't complain. It's all part of the same stupid game they play with us, and we need to wake up and understand it's about our enslavement, which they've put this legal capstone over us, tombstone over us all. So when we break one of these laws of the 26 million that we are supposed to know but we're never taught, we have to hire an attorney. An attorney is registered to the bar. The bar stands for British Accredited Registry and is a corporation. Every court is a for-profit corporation. They make money off of us, and it's registered again in the city of London. Why is the city of London ruling over the U.S. legal system? It's because it all goes back to the Vatican and way back when in the 13 and 1400s, where they created the first CESQV trust and admiralty law. That's why we have river banks and current seas and cash flows and liquid and illiquid assets. It's all based on water. And that's why we go into court and we have a docket and the bailiff bails us out. And that's why the U.S. flag is surrounded by yellow fringe with an eagle on top, because we're all out to sea. And what's the name of the Vatican, the other name? It's the Holy See. And you'll see they play these word games with us all the time. But the game is up because many of us are coming more aware. We're declaring the author of our own authority. And when, not if, but when they collapse the United States as designated and told, like they did 9/11 on the back of our currencies, they're also doing it on the new $100 bill. And if you look at the script, the cursive writing on the $100 bill, that half of it is in gold with a gold inkwell, what is it? It's the Declaration of Independence, the second paragraph. And what does it say? It reads, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles as organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Has there ever been a time in the last 100 years that people were ready to alter or abolish their government? This is what they're saying. They're going to cryptocurrency and gold standards, and they're going to abolish the U.S. government and replace it with their own dictatorial government, as we're seeing being put around us all the time. Everywhere we look. Walmart, backwards, means martial law. And as I pointed out in several videos, Sam Walton, who founded Walmart, also worked for the U.S. government intelligence, naval intelligence, and then he also set up the internment camps across the country to house the Japanese after their rights were violated and taken away, and they were put in camps for 1.5 years, 2 years during World War II. This is who is still running the show, and we need to wake up, because all these strip malls that are being shuttered and closed down with their towers on every side could easily be converted to re-education centers, because the United States is becoming the manufacturers, the Chinese, for the rest of the world, the BRIC countries, Britain, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It is in the works. It is being done. Look at Foxconn in Wisconsin. Look at Alabama. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here, but I just want to get back to Larkin Rose and his excellent work on the dot, which I'll include in the show notes, which shows how the 315 million people in this country are being obedient, being enslaved, being entrained by one person that is the president of a CEO of a British bloodlines that go back to King Charles III. Yet we live in our obedience, and that must end. All right. People trained to obey authority do not know how to be independent, sovereign, responsible human beings, because all their lives they've been intentionally and specifically trained not to follow their own consciences and not to use their own judgment. So the indoctrinated, when they escape one institutionalized control setting of school, hallucinate into another authority to take its place, the government. The escaped monkeys simply build a new cage and eagerly jump into it, because this is all they have known, and this is all they will know. And ending with Larkin Rose, trained to see chains as salvation, taught to bow to liars and thieves, blind devotion to master and nation, binds the soul of he who believes. What beauty might grow if we let the lie die, and embrace what is simple and true. Yesterday's blasphemy now thrust most high. As I own me, so can you own you. So here's to being the author of your own authority. And once you become the author of authority, we can start making new visions of much better ways. We've had free energy for over 100 years. Can you imagine what the world would look like if everyone had free energy, if there were no borders, if we didn't need to have to go work and be enslaved all day to make money for the man while the government takes 30 to 40% of our wage earning and threaten us with enforcement if we do not voluntarily pay our taxes to the government so they can start more wars, so the banksters and the Jesuits can make more wealth while they own our enslavement and the people stay silent. We have free energy. We need the free will. We can declare our own freedom. We can stand up and have a straight back and stand up, because they can't ride you, as Martin Luther King said, when your back is straight. So stand up tall, folks. Let's start this new evolution of a revolution towards new visions of much better ways for our children. Hopefully this will help you understand. And please don't vote. It's just wasting time and energy, and you're giving power away. Keep the power yourself. All right, it's Plain Truth out. Love one another. Peace. We'll catch you next video.